It's getting cold in here, Mike.
False
this is your
start.
place.
It is freezing.
I can't put the heating on because it doesn't really heat anything.
And you know
But we
why?
can put the heater on, but it's loud.
No. Do you know why it's getting cold? Because we're about to get outside into the mist, and we're going to go to the chemist.
Could be nice and warm, man. I mean, the mist is a level of humidity.
Well,
could be cold or warm.
Well, apparently in the book, the mist smells. It has a putrid smell. Like it smells a little bit off. There's just something about it. So
the stank mist.
Yeah. Let's second half, maybe last third.
like a million hours long.
This is the
Almost epic one for the fucking mist.
Yeah.
Stephen King's one of the
we
shortest.
haven't really done the midsummer treatment where we're step by stepping every little segment. Yeah.
However, let's step outside of the supermarket where we hate everything in it, except for Miss Comedy. she's a right gal.
And the old
she's
woman.
Lovely.
She's great.
And but she's stepping out with us, isn't she?
Yeah, she's true. She's done throwing peas. Yeah.
And this is obviously where the film gets a lot better.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
The last.
Before you say any more, I've left my laptop on charge over there. Could you just grab my laptop, please, Mike?
Has it got valuable notes on it?
It's got all my bloody notes on it.
It's part of the set.
Yeah.
Did you not have it throughout
Yeah, I did, but it was on like 15%. So
right.
Here we go. It's really excellent. In fact, the film goes off into another dimension with this, doesn't it?
Yes.
I actually think that like the pharmacy sequence in the mist should be talked about more.
It's brilliant.
Like,
the like military police officer going, "Sorry, we did this."
Yeah.
And it's really great when his body finally falls and it kind of splats, and he's all spiders. Like his entire body is just spiders. Like, it's not like it's like goo with some spiders coming out of it. He's just a big sack of spiders at that point. It's amazing.
And this is where it gets way more its own thing, right? Because this is really expanded on in this adaptation to the book. The book, they go over to the chemist, they're there for seconds and they come back and people die on the way. They lose people. They lose like 5 people in the book on the way.
Yeah.
In the film, it's a much longer sequence, more drawn out, and there's lots more tension. It's really, really good. And this is where it really does go off in its own give it actually its own story. And then they just do some bullet points towards the end with like Mrs. Comment, she's got to die. They've got to get into the car, and then but this whole sequence is kind of their own thing, and they're not hamstrung by the text of Stephen King.
And it's amazing from that point on. Like just the pharmacy scene alone. What with the MP officer, you got the acid webs. There's a brilliant bit like it's super gory where his leg gets like lassoed by and severed. And like they're dragging his body, and they have to give up at one point, and then the gun runs out, and he has to like smash with a stick, like the old woman with the flamethrower.
I love that
amazing.
Shit.
The whole
It's
thing,
the best.
It's great.
She's literally in the documentary practicing it. Like she genuinely does it. She has a lighter, it's like that, and then she does it, and the cast go whoa, like this, and they all clap. It's great.
Yeah.
Best character in the film, that woman, Frances Sternhagen. Yeah, best actor ever, maybe.
Good old Francis. Yeah.
And she's been around forever as well. She was around for like character actress on and off in Broadway, movies, television work for over 6 decades. So she was around a lot. She played a character apparently in Cheers as well. Apparently, Bunny McDougal.
Well, like a one-off or a
no, all the way through. I think
the patrons.
Yeah. I think she's in a lot. So, yeah, I think she's a very well-established person within film and TV. A bit like how Better Call Saul used what's-her-face in the last series, the old lady.
Oh, yeah.
A bit like that. Like she's that type of character within it. Like
Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett. Yeah.
Or Burnett.
Burnett, whatever. Yeah, but she's like that anyway. Like it's that type of person within it, like really established name, that household name in the US.
Yeah.
So I think she deserves a lot of credit for her role within this, actually. And yeah, so back to the scene.
Yeah.
they have more of an actual urge to go out to the pharmacy in this than they do in the book. The book's a bit more like, we should probably go and see what's going on outside of here, see if anyone needs saving. And we need, because someone's like fallen over. Someone got trampled, in fact. That's what it was. Someone got trampled in the book. So they need like bandages and stuff. Whereas in this, obviously someone's been burnt, like third degree burns. So they need
But it's not actually the pharmacy scene. It's the run up to the pharmacy when I start thinking that actually, no, this movie's pretty great. But like, there's the whole bit about like, no, we're not going to let you leave. And the brother of the guy that was burned is like, I'm going. Even if it's on my own, I'm going. That kind of thing. And that's when it starts getting good. The dialogue is great now. The tension is there. The horror elements are dialed up to a substantial degree. The characters we're left with, I know and believe in these characters. I know what they're about. And it's just brilliant. Yeah.
I think I have to say, I think this the whole chemist thing is my favorite bit of the movie. I just love it, like that run up, and then when they go in,
the building
like
tension,
the tension, and what I found
the
inside
little noises that you hear
was way better to me than anything else in the film. And I think that really includes the ending, because I think the ending is iconic and is really well done. But I would watch this scene again. I don't want to watch that ending over and over.
Does it remind you of Aliens?
I was about to say that.
It's
exactly the same as Aliens. Yeah.
And that was a good film.
So, bit of an understatement. It's fucking amazing.
No, we hate Alien on this podcast. We don't talk about Alien.
Only Sean likes that movie.
What's the one rule about A Stab in the Dark?
You don't talk about Alien.
No aliens.
You only talk about The Descent.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, that all happens. Anything else stand out in that area for you before they go back?
Well, I think I've hyped
all
of my favourite elements enough, hypey. I think. Yeah.
They go back and then really shit hits the fan.
Yeah. I will say, though, like, you get a lot of big spiders, spooky spiders, a lot. It's a bit like Cloverfield, right? Which is a little bit later than The Mist. But
it's the same year, I think, actually.
Is it the same year?
Yeah, I was saying.
Yeah. But it's really well done. The addition of the acidic web,
it's very
like
cool.
the huge mass of them, like he has to tread through, crushing them all. Like, it's I mean, it's up there with the. It's barely about spiders, this movie, but it's up there with the best spider horror.
And it's really well expanded from the book, because none of this is there. And this is the beauty of the medium of film, right? Is that when it expands a book in this respect and doesn't just copy and paste the lines from it, it becomes its own entity. It becomes something good in its own right. And that's where this film starts.
And that's apparently where its strengths are, really.
Yeah.
When it diverges from, I'm sorry, Stephen, but your writing was a bit shoddy if it was one for one with the first half. But
it works better in that. It works better, I would say, in that.
Because of the context.
Yeah. I reckon there's a bit more to it. And you can expand more like that within a book and figure things out, in a slower pace. I don't mind that. But then we get back into the inside and they're like going, you've drawn them to us, blah, blah, blah. We've got all this stuff. And we find out that now there's soldiers, because they want to confront them because they found something out from the military police. And they go into the back.
2 of them have killed themselves. Another great reaction.
They talked about it, but I didn't think they would do it.
Yeah. Another great reaction from Andrea from Walking Dead as she sees the bodies and they slowly turn around and she's screaming.
This is like the beginning of the breakdown of her like belief in mankind.
Yeah, her moral confidence in humanity starts to come apart. And then I mean it's when it fully becomes fucking amazing for me when they bring the soldier back into the store and the mob rule starts to take over.
It's him what done it.
And her Führer, and he's like desperately trying to proclaim like it wasn't me, it was the scientists. And the scientists who dared to. I wrote it down. I'm not going to find it now, but like that talks about abortion and splitting the atom. Like all of this like anti-science stuff.
Like
it's all on this man.
He's like a local boy.
He did
this. Joined the army.
And this is a huge diverge from the book, because the soldiers that kill themselves, they get swept under the rug, quite like literally.
really?
No
Right.
one knows about it, and they keep
Yeah.
it hush hush. And that back room,
The
starts to
religious
become-
element never uses that as like a
because
point.
because it becomes like a cemetery, like and
Jesus,
like
yeah.
people get the bodies pile up in there,
All right.
and there's almost this morbid, this black humor in there that like David keeps going. He almost wants to laugh because of how many dead bodies are being piled up in there, and of course this character, this Private Jessup, isn't a thing in the book, so there is no actual sort of that we know that these creatures are from another dimension in this. In the book, it's left up to, well, we don't know what they're doing up there. And they just had to take their best guess. Well, I heard, because I work here, Ollie's like, I work here, so I heard there was something going on with this.
But it's a very good
But I like
lore
this more,
introduction because not only does it give you a bit of clarity on the origins, which I would say maybe it doesn't need, I don't know.
I would actually cut that out. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's important or great that it is there because it gives ammunition to the religious element to blame him or blame them. And yeah, that's why it's there, and that's why it's important. That's why I would justify that origin story is there purely so that she can use it as in her like pragmatic
and it's the perfect
kind of power
crescendo.
play.
It's the perfect crescendo of her character, right? Because she basically dies straight after that.
It's justification for her working herself into a mania and working everybody else into a mania and causing it a complete factional divide that has to end in violence. And that entire scene is great. Yeah.
You know who plays Private Jessup, by the way?
No.
Sam,
I know his face.
Sam Witwer, yeah. Do you know where you might know his face from?
Where?
The Force Unleashed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that does...
But he's in everything. He voices Palpatine now in the Star Wars.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But he's in
cool.
everything like Battlestar Galactica and
Yeah,
sort of stuff. Yeah.
He does have a very distinctive look.
Yeah.
He does look
Yeah, I
distinctive.
might have seen him in Battlestar.
Yeah.
Don't know. Definitely seen him before. Possibly in hundreds of places.
Yeah.
Just
No,
don't
he's
know
like
him.
one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
But yeah, I like all of this integration into it actually, much over the book, and I enjoy. Well, I'm a big Doctor Who fan, so I like an actual origin to the reason that someone's come through to another dimension. I quite like that. I'm not against the actual having an answer in a film that has so little answers in some respects to people's endings.
Well, yeah, I would argue in favour of it because it's an answer for why this is happening, not what's happening.
It doesn't explain everything.
It doesn't explain
It doesn't,
anything
like,
about what the creatures are.
It doesn't
or,
betray the Lovecraftian roots.
Yeah, it doesn't solve the cosmic crisis.
In fact, it's almost like a modern iteration of Lovecraft, right? Because in like the Lovecraftian stories, the protagonists or some of the characters are pursuing them normally through books and things like this.
Yeah, they're pushing.
But now it's like modern science is doing that same thing.
Yeah,
like,
they're pushing their research too far.
yeah, exactly.
Most of the
It's
time
like
in Lovecraft.
transgression. Yeah, but
Yeah.
now it's like a modern take on that. So it's actually quite clever in that way.
Yeah.
Also, incidentally, one of my favorite characters in the mob is the big guy with a knife.
well,
The murderer.
the butcher.
Yeah, the butcher. Doesn't say anything. But
Yeah, and I love a bit later on in the same scene where Tom Jane and them are trying to leave, and the butcher guy walks out, and,
Yeah.
and Tom
like,
Jane's like, "Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa!"
oh, shit, yeah.
It's just a little shimmy away. I want to get involved with that guy.
And David Drayton in the book, he's like petrified of the butcher because he's
he's in the
like,
book.
yeah, he's like, oh my god, this guy's got a knife. When they're trying to leave, this guy's got a knife, and he's the butcher. He could butcher us. Like this is his mind going in the book, and that's quite good. There, like, obviously, he doesn't actually kill anyone in the book. Like that whole scene doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, but they're about to the comeuppance. What happens in that is that they go, we should get the boy and his whore, because they've actually had sex there, and she knows that they have in the book. So Mr. Carmody, she's like,
but I think it's
I
possibly
know what you did up there.
it's possibly more powerful in the movie where she is just being a judgmental person and has no evidence that she is anything other than.
Yeah, but she does have moments when they are trying to escape, where she's already up, like, I was been expecting you, Mr. Bond. Like, that sort of moment.
Yeah.
So
stealing from us, have you been?
Yeah. And
That's one of the sins, I'll have you know. Yeah.
so I don't mind that they're like, we want the boy, and then we want his whore, and you know, one of her reasons, like, well, you're no better than us because you were having sex upstairs, and you're both like committing adultery, and I know about it because she's all seeing and all knowing. So I don't mind either or.
Either are good, really. Yeah. I'd defend both.
Yeah. So that's the only real. This is probably the biggest difference, other than the ending, between the two. But it's pretty good. And in fact, I probably do prefer the movie version in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so tense and so like fraught with like really good. I mean, I shat on the acting earlier on and the writing earlier on, but somehow it's fucking great here. It's fucking great the entire tail end of this movie. Everybody's reacting in fear in very believable ways. You get a lot of like close-up shots. The direction is on point. It's just so good. Yeah. And it's genuinely shocking, not just from a narrative point of view, but from the way it's filmed. At first, like her milk bottle shot, and you don't know whether she's been shot or it was a warning shot.
Yeah, it's not first. You don't actually know, do you?
Yeah, it's not Rambo First Blood.
Yeah,
it's just the milk, and you're like, was she shot? Was she shot? And then she gets shot straight up in the face. Yeah. And then as they're leaving, Toby Jones is like, I wouldn't have done it if there was any other way.
Like, thank you.
That's why I said thank you. Yeah. Great dialogue. Like, what's going on here? This movie's fucking great. Like,
and that's it. That is from the book too, actually. That dialogue is straight out of the book. Yeah, mostly. I think there's like 1 word difference, 2 words difference, but it is very much a copy and paste in that one. But it's really good.
And then they go outside in the mist, and then there's a couple of peel-offs.
Half their group.
Yeah, there's like gigantic shit grabbing the one guy. There's like little spider shit eating the other one. Like there's all kinds of frantic shenanigans going on.
And it shows you the danger of going out there as well.
Yeah,
like
presumably
that's the point.
Andre Braugher presumably faced. Yeah,
they meet their comeuppance because they found it better, and their odds were better against monsters than it was against humans. Like they had better odds. It says something.
Which is usually it's like usually a zombies thing, right? Or I mean, it's what The Walking Dead pounds into the ground thousands and thousands of times.
Don't go there.
Yeah, Darabont clearly loves that, but love it. And then they lock himself. Well, there is one bit where he's reaching for the gun, and he had enough time to just walk.
Yeah, he did. Why don't you just reach out a tiny another inch?
That's one of the only flaws in this latter bit, where there's a bit of contrived tension where he's just reaching for this gun. But I'll allow it because it's surrounded by such greatness.
I know it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like this, Dave? Do you prefer this to the rest of the film, or is it just adding to your love?
Oh no, I do love this sequence. Like I said, I wouldn't have extended it like you were suggesting earlier. But for me, like the whole time, the mystery of the mist is built up, and this is the payoff. And it's quite fleeting, right? It's like maybe 10-minute sequence or something.
Yeah.
But every single second of it, I love.
It's very well choreographed.
I love the glimpses. And this as well. When there's action like this, the documentary style filmmaking really works because you really kind of feel like you're on the ground.
You're right there in the action, running.
And it's disorienting as fuck. Like,
and you're kind of swiveling from one character to the other as fates are being met.
And I love the like giant tentacle creature that you see. And
I'm a big Lovecraft fan, so that's always going to appeal to me. And I'm kind of starved of good cosmic horrors, always have been. So I'm glad that I've kind of reclaimed this movie as a good one. So
I'm enjoying this bit of the film now for the sequence of. I don't really give a shit what you're saying there. I don't like it for that reason.
Oh wow, Jesus!
Whoa. Cutting me down.
But I'm enjoying it for different reasons. I'm just.
You don't like a bit of H.P. Lovecraft tentacle action?
I've already told you
gigantic
I'm not a monster person.
Speaky beasts.
I don't do monsters very.
Well, they're not really monsters. They're like
it definitely.
Otherworldly beings. I mean, there could even be aliens.
No, aliens are different.
It's the same.
I mean, what makes this gigantic monster any different from an alien?
Well, I don't know.
There's no good answer to that.
There isn't. I just see them differently. Maybe because some of them have tentacles, and aliens.
Aliens can have tentacles.
Yeah, but not the aliens I'm
have
thinking
tentacles,
about.
And they're not monsters or aliens.
No, they are aliens. Don't you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I just don't know that cosmic stuff very well. I've never really got into it. But
We'll get there.
Oh, we will.
There's a category
yeah, there
on the
is.
document.
However, I did enjoy this section, not to reclaim something or other, but more so just enjoying the drive through and the human element, and that they find they're desperate, and then you get that I really like the dinosaur.
The
type
massive,
thing.
massive
yeah,
one. Yeah.
that's great. Jurassic Parky type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
on the same budget, they've got that CGI in the mist, and
That's
it looks,
the whole like Silent
looks
Hill
amazing,
game, right? Is that the limit of it was
Yeah,
disguised by.
I mean, in
fog.
the game, it was to hide the draw distance. They
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
didn't have the computing power to do like 4 buildings in advance, so you got the mist there to hide that.
So it
but
hides
like
the CGI
yeah.
a bit.
But
you know.
yeah, I mean, whether accidental or intentional, it's a great motif because it's exactly the same, if not better, than making your movie set at night in the
Yeah.
darkness, because it instantly means that you don't know your surroundings and the characters
Yeah.
don't know their surroundings.
They wanted to make that section actually practical effects, that creature, but he got talked out of doing it, Darabont, because
That would have been insanely expensive.
well, it would have been okay.
Even if it was miniatures, it would have been difficult.
Yeah, it would have been okay if they weren't thinking about, well, what if we want to do this differently? He said, we got one chance at doing this. If we do it practically, we've got one chance. If we do it digitally, then lots of different things can happen in post. But there's no way, they didn't want to take that risk doing that. But I think it would have looked really cool, but I think they've actually pulled it off. I don't like the CGI in the rest of this film, but I reckon they pulled it off pretty well in this actual last bit. Almost that there's more care to the
I
finale.
think they had to prioritize what
Yeah.
they could work on, and not everything got equal treatment, like equal
Yeah.
time. And also, what you're saying about most of it being obscured by the mist helps as well. And what you were saying earlier about like having mist come into the back building, at the beginning
Would
of
have
the gate.
definitely helped.
Yeah.
And it's almost baffling to me that they didn't decide to do that.
To be honest, I agree.
Yeah.
Or nothing at all. Yeah, like you said.
My only
Yeah.
real gripe with the finale is when they go back to their house, and because that feels contrived after not seeing Steph, his wife, for so long, and all of a sudden he's really like, oh, after nothing much.
No, I don't know
in
about
it.
that. Like, they're doubled down on the decision for him to not have an affair. Like, I mean, they haven't made her a big character, but they've made him they've changed his character.
To an
right?
extent, they almost forced themselves to shoot that scene, but at the same time, I don't think the scene is particularly well executed. I don't really like his little speech about, the tree fell, I forgot about the window. Like,
And-
this doesn't really... I mean, she could have died
Surely it
for
adds
any
to his
number of reasons.
character, though, that if he had sex with Amanda and then gone back and still been like that, and she's by his side, like that makes his character even more weird and like not just the hero of the day. It would have, to me, made him more nuanced and real than what he's come up in this film.
I think for me, it should have been dialogue. I mean, this is again me inserting myself as some kind of person that knows what you're doing with movie making, but I don't think he should have said anything. And
they just drove past.
Yeah, they either
in
drove,
silence,
and then maybe the kid said something, or there was no dialogue at all. But I didn't really like.
I
his
think no
speech.
dialogue at all would have worked really well. Even if the kid said nothing, it would have worked.
But
Yeah.
I mean, in the book they can't get to the house because there's like too many holes and stuff in the way. They just
a similar
can't
kind
find
of
out.
restraint that they do have later on in the movie when the shooting happens, right? And the kid says nothing at all, but clearly has a brilliant look for a child.
You imagine if he goes,
actor.
"No, Daddy, don't,
Daddy, what are you doing?
And that's like the final line of the film.
yeah. What are you doing with that gun?"
Yeah, that
Is
would have been terrible.
Is he Pip now?
No, he's
on South Park.
you
we
need to
have some
save us,
tea?
Mr. Skywalker. Whatever that line
What
was.
do we do?
Yeah. Zing. Anyhow,
Not
yeah.
the younglings. Not the younglings.
So that does lead us to the very ending. I've said most of my piece with it. I just think my first experience with this was watching it with you. You were evil to me. I can't believe you made me watch this. We smoked weed.
Right.
And you were like, "Yeah, let's watch this film."
I wanted to watch it for you.
And then he wanted to watch it with me in black and white, which freaked me the fuck out while I was high. There's no way I'm watching the black and white version while high. Like that I get paranoid enough on weed as it is. I don't need that in my life. Then we watch this film, and then comes this ending, and it's just like.
But that's the whole thing, like what I'm saying is that I never think about the ending when I think about this film. I like this film despite the ending. I like the ending, like I say, but I just don't...
I thought that was
I've always thought of this movie
evil.
as basically the ending.
No,
As the shining point.
In fact, I remember watching it with you that night, and then we were getting kind of towards the end, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, pure evil that was.
Yeah.
That was like, I can't believe you
Did you
put me
follow
on
it
the downer.
with Girl Next Door and Sarlo? Yeah.
No, that was for our next night.
Yeah.
Jesus, it's yet to come.
Yeah. Well, it's like the time I did Acid and put Apocalypse Now on because I thought it was I mean, I'd done 2001 and that was great, but like I put Apocalypse Now on thinking it was like a big drug movie.
Was it the extended version with the French? Because that would have been hilarious.
That felt like 7 hours. Jesus.
Yeah. But yeah, there's way too much violence and horrible noises in that for drugs. But yeah, I love this ending. I mean, you love this movie and you're kind of like not loving the ending, but I think it is the strongest. I love the second half now, but I think this is the strongest point of the movie. It's the reason the movie's still remembered and revered now, and it's the reason that I couldn't, even when I remembered all of the flaws of this movie and didn't like this movie, couldn't out and out say it was bad. Because I remembered how good the ending was. And now loving the latter half of this movie, it elevates the end of the movie even more. I think it appeals to me because I like the nihilistic, brutal endings and the hopelessness of an apocalyptic nightmare, that kind of thing. But also because we don't see that kind of ending, that kind of tonal shift with an ending, believably, very often. Like I mentioned The Road earlier, and that's a similar kind of vibe, but it seems like the genuine hope most of the time throughout this movie, especially in the latter half that I like. It seems like they've made progress, they've proved the religious people wrong, they're on their way, there will be an end to this, they have somewhere to go, they have somewhere to possibly stay again, free from harm. But they don't. And it's all done in this wordless manner. Every single person there doesn't say a single word, but they're extremely well acted parts with their eyes and their faces. Particularly the little boy when he wakes up and obviously sees the father's gun pointing at him. And particularly Dale from The Walking Dead, don't know his name, but he's amazing because he sees we watch him as the gun's taken out and he's resolving it in his mind and he comes to the resolution and all he does is nod. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And then following on from that, the screaming and dropping to the knees.
I was about to say, like,
is earth shattering.
Quite indifferent to his performance overall, Thomas Jane.
Yeah, I don't think personally he's a particularly good actor elsewhere. He's fine in The Punisher and he's fine in some
Frank
other
Darabont
things.
wanted him for this
but
film.
He's very good, especially at the end.
But
of
I was blown away by his like wails.
Yeah,
like,
because it's very believable kind of anguish sounds, which is very difficult to pull off. I would imagine. Obviously.
He said it was hard in the documentary. He's like, going, "This was really tough to do this, and film this." And yeah, like I was going to say that Frank Darabont wanted him specifically for this role, had him in mind from the start, and wanted to show him off as he thought he had more to him than what was shown in previous films, which he just mentioned. So I think he wanted to give him the opportunity to have a moment like that within his acting career.
Yeah.
So I think he did, and I think he pulled it off. I don't know if he was given all the correct dialogue to be able to show off or the nuances that perhaps gave him. A bit like how Hayden Christensen isn't really given the chance through the...
yeah, poor old Hayden Christensen.
With all the weird dialogue he's given in George Lucas's stuff. Like, I feel like he doesn't get the dialogue.
And a lot of the other movies he's been cast in as well are not good movies and not well-written movies. Yeah.
And
he'll have a resurgence, though. He will.
Yeah,
he will.
Hopefully.
And
I like it.
With this, I think Thomas Jane kind of doesn't get that opportunity till near the end to really get into the nitty-gritty as an actor. And I don't necessarily think his performance before that is his fault. He's just doing what he has available to him. Like, he doesn't have all the intentions that the character of David Drayton has in the book. We're not following him from the first person. Like, we're not in his mind. We don't have that opportunity, and it's not as well. You can't see that as well.
Yeah, there's not a lot of emotive scenes for him up until this point.
I always felt because actually, again at the beginning, I mentioned one or two flaws that I acknowledged but overlooked. The first one is the CGI. The second one for me is his performance. I never really liked it in like the first 2/3 of the film. I always kind of felt it was kind of restrained in a way, like he was always trying to be cool.
Like it felt wooden in a certain way.
Yeah, just that he didn't quite like commit to the campy tone as much as he could have done, perhaps.
He didn't believe in being worried about his son.
Marcia Gay. Yeah, he was always. I always kind of felt that the actor was just trying to be cool all the time. That's the best way I can describe it. Like Marcia Gay, Harden committed completely.
Yeah,
and got the tone. The old woman, the actress who played the old woman, Toby Jones, he's a chameleon.
Yeah. Walking Dead actress was very good.
Yeah. But I always felt that Tom Jane, like, he's supposed to be like an artist. I felt like he was like just trying to be a tough guy, Hollywood leading man.
Yeah.
Until the end, and especially, I mean the whole wordless like exchange in the car, but especially his like breakdown.
Yeah, there's like an element of stoicism to his entire character up until that point, isn't there?
I actually disagree with your assessment of his character. I think he's really good in this. I thought he's one of the better performances.
Oh, really?
Because he isn't so fucking melodramatic. I get fed up of so much melodrama within the film, and this sort of like what they're trying to do, or what you said they're trying to do. I'm not so drawn into that, but I liked it at the beginning. He's kind of indifference to, but also there's just a hint of him actually being sorry to see that Mercedes like down by that tree, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man."
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, that's really nuanced, because if you're looking into it, I was like, he does mean it, but also pains him to say he means it to this guy who obviously doesn't get along with.
There is also that bit where he's lying down with his son, and his son says, you're not going to let the monsters get me, are you, Dad? And that's another bit with quite a long pause of kind of eye movement and face acting. I think that's quite believable. And
I also think
they're few and far between, because a lot of the time he is kind of the straight man. He's the protagonist. He's pushing the narrative forward. He's giving the logic. But I think when he's given the
tools,
the dialogue to work with, or the scene set up to act, he's pretty good.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the point. Is that I don't think
I don't think he's the weakest. I mean, we're not going to go back to Andrew Brauger again, but I think he and original nameless woman or whatever. The two
Frank Darabont.
Bride, really?
Yeah. I don't have anything against either of those actors, but the performances in this movie.
Right. Frank Darabont, in this, wanted the character of David Drayton to be Drew Struzan. You know who that is? He's the guy who did all the famous artwork for Star Wars, for Back to the Future, all the movie posters. And he even did the movie poster at the beginning in the opening scene to this film. And that's all his stuff in the background. The Thing, Indiana Jones. That's all his work. So Darabont wanted to pay homage to him within the film and put a lot of that on this character of David Drayton, which is no way in that book, but it is in the film. Now, if you were going to make a character that you put on a pedestal and you're directing that character, you're not going to have them cheat. You're not going to have them be any bit unfaithful. All you're going to do is create this sort of like stoic character who has really not as much personality, like Rey Skywalker. They're good at everything almost. And I think it...
Like a Peggy Sue.
Yeah. That kind of thing. And...
do you mean Mary Sue?
Mary
Sue, that's what I meant. Peggy Sue is a movie. That's not what I mean.
Sue. Yeah, he is a bit of a Mary Sue, in fact, in this film, until the very end. And that's where the jarring thing with his character is. I don't think it's the performance. I think it's on Frank Darabont to actually, who was put this person who he loves and adores into this character who is deeply flawed and has his issues and doesn't like people and kind of feels himself he's okay at things. He's not the best. His dad was the best. He's just he's living in his dad's shadow the whole time. He's nothing special. Throughout this film, we're seen to believe he is something special. And how can you portray that other than what he did? I really don't put that on the shoes of Tom Jane.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I do. Yeah, I think perhaps if his character had more obvious flaws in the earlier parts, maybe he would have perhaps had more opportunity to demonstrate like kind of range, which he clearly is capable of doing because his performance in the entire like final act, but especially the final sequence, is like really, really good.
I think in the opportunities he has to showcase his acting talents in this movie, he does very, very well. Yeah, he's just not given a lot of opportunities to do so because his character is written as kind of a leadership, forced to be stoic, forced to be dependable, respectable, reserved, these kind of things. Those aren't really the kind of words that you would nominate someone for emotive response or great acting showmanship.
Like what would have been his look on his face, or what would he have done as a decision as an actor if his character had cheated on his wife, who then he goes back to their house and she is dead, like she is like webbed in the side of their house? What does that actor, how does his performance change? But he wasn't given that opportunity to show that on his face, to show that in what he said or anything. Like that intention is never there because it never happens to his David Drayton, unlike the book's David Drayton.
Yeah, but he feels personally culpable for her death because he mentions the tree.
Yeah, but that's the neighbour's fault.
That's very loose, though, isn't it? It's the storm's fault.
Yeah,
really.
It's the storm's fault. He wasn't to know that. Like,
it's almost misplaced guilt.
That's just something someone would say in a situation like, what if I'd have just done this a few minutes here, a few minutes there, which actually is the ending. Like, but if I'd have if you end up in a car crash, and it's like, whoa, if they just left 2 minutes before or 2 minutes after, they would have missed that completely. It wouldn't have happened. Yeah, but I mean, we'll go back to the book. He's in a monologue at the beginning, tells him that fog coming across, he shouldn't go to the... Sorry.
Ghost powers.
that mist shouldn't... he shouldn't go to the supermarket. He even tries to tell his neighbour, like, maybe you don't want to go yet. Maybe you want to do a bit more, try your chainsaw again. He's like, no, I'll do it later. I can't be arsed right now. So he puts himself into a corner where he has to go. But he has a deep feeling that he shouldn't leave his wife, that something will happen if he goes, but he ignores his gut. So I think we lose all of that nuance with this character, and that's the reason I keep mentioning it, is only because I think his character is so much better in the book, because he is flawed, and I think that's good. I think our hero should be flawed, and I don't think he has enough flaws for Tom Jane to be able to actually put in a stellar performance until the end, when he does make the ultimate fuck up.
Yeah, well, it's one of those like impassioned screams that you don't really get believability in a lot of movies. It's not like your horror scream where they see something shocking. It's like a complete emotional breakdown. I've lost my family. My life has no meaning anymore. Everything is fucked scream, which is incredibly difficult, I would imagine, to muster and have it be believable.
Because he wants to die immediately.
It's ridiculously commendable. Yeah,
like the whole,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's very powerful when he's like kind of shouting and screaming no and like kind of whimpering as well, and he's clicking the gun. Really wants that gun to work. It's powerful as hell, and we're restrained. We're not given any dialogue, and that's brilliant. Like the direction ties in with his acting perfectly. And it's just so good.
Then he's like outside going, come on to the monsters, like come and get me.
Yeah.
And then the worst possible thing happens.
Yeah.
or one of the cinema's greatest moments.
Yeah. The worst if you're looking within the film. The absolute Oh man, it's one of the like people have regrets over things and like things they do, and they're like, man, if I didn't do that, and think of that, but like a million times worse than any feeling of that you ever had.
But what you
just
said about
murdered your son.
What you said about like things happening as they happen, and the documentary movie making and believability of like random happenstance. That's the perfect example of that. That's amazing. That doesn't seem contrived at all. That doesn't seem forced upon us. That seems like natural evolution of a plot. And that's where that really comes to its like full showing and is impressive and is very well executed.
The only issue I have with that ending at all is that we see Melissa McBride like going, "Hey." Like,
no, I like that. I like that because
like,
that is just
that
like
feels contrived.
That's an absolute finger in the wound, is what that is. Then
but I mean, we don't need that.
I
for
needed
him.
a finger in the wound.
Why isn't
He can put a finger in his fucking dead son's forehead for fuck's sake.
Exactly. She's got 2 living children, and everything's fine for her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that like a trope though? Like a trope reference. I mean, it's such a trope that they even did it in Shaun of the Dead, like where they meet someone who disappears from the film and then comes back as a survivor at the end.
I don't think it's popular enough to be a trope. Like, can you think of other examples?
Shaun of the Dead.
That's a parody. That can't count.
I wish I had more awake brain power to think.
No.
I don't think it's common enough to be a trope, and I think it's shocking enough to be not assumed. Like I don't know whether you've watched it for the first time recently. When she walked off into the mist, did you presume she'd come back? And also, maybe that gives credence to the fact that we don't see Andre Brauger come back, because that that might negate you thinking she's going to come back if they also disappear and we never hear from them again. So maybe that's...
I disagree with her coming back, because there's no way that woman is making it through that mist.
It's random chance though, isn't it?
Yeah, she ain't making it. That mist.
They got to a car.
You can see 5 to 10 feet in front of you. She's a scared woman who is all we know about her character.
She has a car out there just as...
I always got the sense that the order that we see the creatures is significant, that there is like an ecosystem, and that the reason that she was able to escape was because
she did it early.
Yeah, and that was the...
Yeah, but what killed the screaming man that ran out straight away and immediately as the...
Where the tentacles around the back door at that point
were also early. Right, okay, so the big ones first and then smaller and smaller. Is that the presumption?
No, I think the little creatures hang around and come out at night. They're like moths. You don't see them during the day. They're night creatures. And the big things are like the rule. They're the ruling class in that society. I don't know.
But it is down to random chance.
I mean,
that's another thing I like about the realist kind of approach. Again, in the latter half. But yeah.
I just can't see her, because everyone else who steps out of that door, that you at least lose a couple of members of your party, and that's working together. Yeah. Well, I just don't see that.
You're viewing it like War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, where his son just turns up out of fucking nowhere,
I don't mind
having
that.
survived.
There you go. See, a trope.
Do not say that.
It is a trope. Yeah, you've just come...
Yeah, that is another example. Yeah, but that's a bullshit fucking example.
Yeah, but it's a thing.
That's
terrible. It is a thing. It is a thing.
Well, I believe this one.
Great film.
I think this one's justified. Yeah, fuck off Tom Cruise with the War of the Worlds.
Oh, I love
that. I love that film. What are you talking about?
No, it's got a good first 20 minutes.
No.
Then after that, it's just Dakota Johnson screaming and a load of fucking shit happening. His son's just wandering off like a dickhead. Like, it's terrible. It's terrible.
He's a bad man.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible.
It's like a 5.5 out of 10.
I always thought you liked that film for some reason.
I like it.
I love the original.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay,
well.
Anyway, let's go back. Anyhow,
tune in, who knows when, for War of the Worlds.
2028. By the time we get there.
Just the wrap up?
Whoa, is this the wrap up? Yeah,
I guess.
I guess it is. I guess it is. All right, then. So, overall, Mike, has your opinion changed?
What, from what I said at the start?
Well, yeah. How do you feel about the film now? Because I feel like for me, it's very distinctly in 2 parts.
It's definitely in 2 parts. This rewatch has dramatically changed my opinion, but only because I think I forgot the good elements of this movie. and only focused on the bad elements that made me angry about the first half. But now that I've remembered, presumably, the merits, the really strong merits of the second half, I think this movie is great. I think this movie is hurt by the first half, and that stops it being something that I would absolutely defend. But it's still good.
There's no way I can call this movie great. That's lunacy. That's like
the second half is amazing, man. It's really good.
It's good. Yeah, but it's not the one. It's fine. It's good.
I didn't say it was the one. It's not Neo.
No, but the great word. It just.
I didn't say brilliant or fantastic.
Well,
I said
they all
great.
mean the same thing.
I didn't say masterpiece. Certainly.
No, the issue is that first half is so
better than Terrifier 3.
That's just you're just trying to like make me want to kill you.
I also think that.
Yeah, agreement.
And I like Terrifier 3.
Why are you looking so fucking smug? You ask. Like, he sits there, putting his hands over his head.
Yeah, he's doing
like
the
he wants me
relaxed
to suck his
position.
cock. Like, fuck off.
Well, your words.
This
Suck
is
the
not.
missed cock.
This is nowhere near as good as Terrifier 3, and yet they cannot be compared to how you two like to compare these things because they are totally different movies.
everything can
from
be compared.
Different, no.
Apples and oranges, which is better?
Okay.
It's a valid decision.
Yeah, but apple and oranges, they're both fruit.
What about Apples
These
and
are
Terrifier 3?
both movies.
Yeah, they are both movies, but they're very, very different. Apple and oranges, they're both round. These
Well, these are both films.
Look, I just
What
don't
shape
think
are these movies, Joe?
there's different shapes. I just can't compare those two things, and I just know from a feeling inside is that there's no way The Mist going to see it at the cinema would make me feel the same way Terrifier 3 did. Okay, that's all there is.
Fair enough.
It's 2000s. It's trying to be something in the 1950s. If it really is trying to do that, I'm not so sure. I think that the CGI is shockingly bad in the first half. It is Herschel's farm from season 2 of The Walking Dead, but it's Herschel's supermarket. That's what that first half is. And look what happened there. The ending to that season was really quite good, but it's dramatically ruined by this idea of the first half. This movie does not deserve the second half it gets because it is so tonally off in that first bit. Now, I like the second half of the movie, I really do, but I cannot call it anything but good because of that. It is a movie of two halves to me. First half, there's so much going on.
At some point, I'm going to think of some kind of movie that's got a garbage first half and a great second half that you love, and at that point, you're going to think twice, but I can't think of it now.
I don't mind this. I was giving it all the thumbs up on that second half, but they really need to cut down that bit by 20 minutes within the store. It's nowhere near as good as how the book portrays it. And the characters aren't deep enough. They need to get rid of that love story. They need to make Amanda and David fuck upstairs. They need to do a lot of things, and they didn't do them, and that is to its detriment.
I agree with all of that, but that doesn't make it not a great movie. The strength of that last 50 minutes.
No, it's fine. If I was just judging it off that second half, I'd be like, this is fantastic. But I have to take into account that this first half exists, and I have to be bored to get to that. In fact, I might just skip that first half and just like tear my Blu-ray in half, so I only get the second half.
Then it's
of it.
the best movie ever.
Yes. And I think it has a ballsy ending. I think it does very well. I think there's a lot of really great things about it. I think the doing it in that time period is commendable. I think that everyone got on well in the set, and obviously he's such a good filmmaker. Is Frank Darabont? There's no doubt in all of that. I just doubt his script writing abilities.
Green Mile is one of the
sometimes.
best movies of all time. So this man knows how to make a movie. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that everything that person comes out with is going to be the best thing they've ever done.
No.
And that's all for me, right?
Fair enough.
Dave, what's your take?
Well, I still love it.
Yeah.
I do think it's a film with two halves, but I
Did
like
your
the
opinion change in any way whatsoever? When was the last time you watched it since this rewatch?
I don't know. When I watched it with Joe, whenever that was, I don't know, like a year ago.
Oh, right, not pretty
too,
recent.
Not too long ago. Yeah, I've seen it like 5 or 6 times probably since I first saw it.
Mm.
And I've always loved it, and I still do. every single time. I do agree about it being a film in two halves, and I do agree that the back half is stronger, more or less from like the ramp up to the pharmacy towards the end of the film. I agree with that. I like the first half though.
There's not an element of like forgiving of the first half in a certain way because of the strength of the latter half.
It's if I'd seen the film just once, then I would say possibly. But no, I don't think so. I don't feel the length of the film. I enjoy the ride to get there. I guess I know watching it that it's going somewhere. And so maybe that makes me more patient potentially. I agree with you that perhaps I would have cut out that one scene with the love story between the two young people, but I got no particular problem with it. I was just thinking.
I mean, that's not the only thing we've discussed as possibly an improvement, and you've agreed as well, though, right? With the backroom scene being
I think
badly handled as well. There's been quite a few.
No, I don't think it was badly handled, but I think I would have preferred what you said about keeping it more ambiguous to disguise the CGI, because that is the worst instance for the CGI. But I also don't care about the CGI. It's never been a problem for me. I would have preferred it if it was more obscured, and I definitely would have preferred it if it was practical, but it just doesn't bother me that much. I would have liked Tom Jane's character to be more flawed, and I think you have convinced me about his performance versus the writing. Given the evidence of what we see him do at the end, it's very possible, that if he had more to do, kind of character range wise, in the early parts,
stronger about
perhaps I might have liked his performance more. And so maybe having him like have an affair would have actually been at least a little wrinkle in his character.
Yeah.
Because like I said, his performance in that character was one of my least favorite parts of the film going in. But other than that, I think everything is intentional. I think that the character archetypes are purposely loosely drawn in order to represent, because I really genuinely
very kindly said.
I like the final sequence, but I really think that the film is about society breaking down. I don't know if the book is necessarily about that, but I really think that the film is about that, which is why he chose to film it that way.
Well, Darabont did say that about the 21st century and the breakdown. So it is 100%. That's where he came from.
And so I think that's the most important part of the film, and having especially the figureheads, including Thomas Jane's character, actually being underwritten in a way, and being hyper religious or to a fault, or hyper intellectual to a fault, or hyper pragmatic to a fault, where he shoots his own kid, and then being portrayed essentially equally flawed, and then all of them having essentially their own congregations, right? Because Andre Braugher doesn't leave alone either.
Yeah,
it's about society's response to those ideas, those concepts. They're not characters; they're concepts.
Yeah.
And within the context of the story, there's enough to them for them to be consistent characters. And yes, when they have more time in the story, like Mrs. Comedy, they become great. But that's not what they're about, and that's not the intention of the film, in my opinion. And that's why I don't have a problem with those earlier parts of the film.
I understand that, and maybe it's personal.
Is that a coping mechanism to liking it still?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
But yeah, I still love it. And I would still probably crack my top 10, despite all those flaws. And I do agree with some of the things she said.
The top 10 horrors of all time.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But like, the thing is about like a top 10 is that it's so much down to taste.
Yeah, it's a personal.
It really aligns with my taste.
Choice.
Like I love the aesthetic, especially in black and white, the campy tone, creature feature, the very powerful final act and very memorable ending. I love it all. Like it just ticks all my boxes in a way that it elevates the film beyond some of those flaws, which I do agree with. And that's just the way it is.
I think, that's fair. Yeah. I think to end on a more positive note from my perspective is that it was a much better film when I watched it with other people. When I watched it with my mum and Terry, that was the best viewing experience I had of watching it. Better than one we had, because I didn't like the highness while watching it. I'm not good at watching horror movies while smoking weed. So maybe we watch music instead.
Okay.
Next time.
I'm assuming you mean music videos, or
like
you can listen to music and watch
the
it.
concept of music.
Yeah, like Mozart or whoever it was.
Like
you
a
could
Who gig
see
or-
the music in colours. Yeah.
Ned Sylvan and Steve Hackett or something like that. But watching it with Mom and Terry and that B-moviness of the first half was absolutely fine with them. I didn't mind that. And the idea of Terry going, this is a bit crap in the first half, and then enjoying the second, laughing at the air can, the bug spray, that stuff. That's a great comedic moment. That second half, my mom jumping out of his skin to certain bits of it that would make me laugh when he's corny with the CGI. That's funny and it's good. And I think if the intention is there to make this a B movie from the 50s, then that's where they've succeeded. When you're in a more community, like when you're watching it with a group or something, or at a cinema, I reckon it would be a better experience for myself. Looking at it critically and through my critical eye for this podcast, that's where my issues with it arise. If I'm looking at it as just a person wanting to enjoy a horror movie with other people, then I think it's perfectly fine. And then the ending just destroys you because of that. But then that's also very impactful and why it's spread like wildfire and become a cult film. So I actually don't mind it looking through that lens. If I'm looking at it from that specific lens, I won't give it any issue. If I look at it critically, then I have to critically analyze it and tear it apart from how I see it.
Yeah. Well, for all I know, all of these people I follow on Letterboxd are also forgiving the first half, and they're only focused on the latter bit.
Or maybe they respect the intentionality and appreciate it for succeeding at what it sets out to
doesn't
do.
mean
Wow,
it's
I ended up.
well.
You know what? I was bringing.
It is executed well.
I think it's perfect. I think it's great that it ends on an argument, though. So
No, because I was gonna we are three separate parts here. You're like Mrs. fucking religious nut over here.
Why am I Mrs. Comedy?
You're Mrs. Comedy because you're like,
don't make me-
hallelujah, I'm preaching the movie.
I don't want to
Mist.
be. I don't want to be Andre Braugher. He's not professional.
No one's
You're
favourite character.
You're leaving half an hour in. And I'm the hero. I'm David Drayton. The tall, handsome hero.
God damn it.
And on that note,
And on that note, there you go. Thank you for joining us. And I hope you enjoyed yourselves. And maybe you are absolutely seething at what we've said. Maybe you're like Dave, putting his hands above his head and acting really cocky.
Yeah, is this a top 10 horror movie of all
Yeah,
time? All time? The Exorcist is overrated, but The Mist is top 10.
Yeah, Halloween is overrated, but The Mist is top 10.
Yep, I stand by it.
Okay.
And our fans will know.
Is this the best movie with mist or fog in it? Like,
The Fog is better. Why didn't we do
Fog
The Fog?
and Silent Hill?
John Carpenter.
And, those good movies. Yeah.
Anyhow, like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you thought. Please tell us what you think. We'd like to know what you think of the first half and the second half, because it's important to us. And we'll read them all. I swear to you, we'll read them all. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yep.